I am Liz Galvez, and I am a coordinating member of the Oil Spill Task Force. Next slide, please.
Sorry,
We are the
Liz.
young. Hi. We are the youngest member of the Oil Spill Task Force. Hawaii joined in 2001. So this slide just shows our Department of Health organizational chart. Highlighted in yellow is the Environmental Health Administration, and that's where we belong. Next slide, please. And within the Environmental Health Administration, I belong to the Office of Hazard Evaluation and Emergency Response, HEER, or HERE for short. So here is here. So unlike the Department of Health's traditional public health organizations such as diseases and behavioral health, mental and substance abuse, the Environmental Health Administration is part of the Department of Health. And the whole Department of Health has about 3,000 positions, but in the Environmental Health Administration, we have about 400 positions, and where we belong with the sharing the vision of no spilled oil is the HERE office. You know, Kim and Mike from Oregon, you guys said that you guys have a mighty team. However, I can brag that we are also a mighty team of 6 in the emergency preparedness and response. We currently have 4 state on-scene coordinators, but we do have vacancies, and we have 1 in the Hawaii Emergency Planning Community Right to Know Act and 1 risk management program. Next slide, please. Our legal authorities, and this always has to be mentioned. We mimic the Environmental Protection Agency's CERCLA or Superfund. We do have our Hawaii Revised Statutes 128D and Hawaii Administrative Rules 11-451, and also our HEPCRA. Next slide, please. Our funding source is from an environmental response revolving fund, and we get 5 cents tax per barrel of petroleum products. And in addition, we also collect civil penalties from environmental enforcement. Out of this, we get annually an allocation of $1.3 million for our response purposes. Next slide, please. So I'll be highlighting some of our incidents and activities from this year and last year. And we receive anywhere from 400 to 800 release notifications annually. Most of them are oil spills. And this fiscal year, meaning from July to June, we usually get about 300 oil spill notifications, and about 150 of those are chemical spills. Next slide, please. So the mantra that I always tell our guys is that, you know, we do protect the public health and the environment. And in addition to being a member of the Oil Spill Task Force, we want no spilled oil. So I'll just be discussing 4 incidents. The Red Hill Bulk Storage Fuel Facility. This has been an ongoing saga within the department and statewide, about a Poseidon jet that went down at Kaneohe Bay here on Oahu. 4 55-gallon drums might not seem, you know, interesting, but it is. And recreational vessel Chaparral, which used to be military decommissioned vessel. Next slide, please. So this is the Red Hill. You know, the Red Hill has been one of our biggest incidents. As I had mentioned before, these are 20 tanks and with the ancillary pipelines, and one of the tanks has 12.5 million gallon capacity. and there's 20 of those. And what's unfortunate about this is that it's a mile away from our Oahu's primary drinking water source and only about 100 feet away from the Navy's drinking water well. And in 2001, approximately 93,000 people were affected by fuel in the water from a release from this Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility. Next slide, please. So that took about 4 months to do the emergency response and, declaring the water was safe to drink again. And now our DOH priorities, Department of Health of Hawaii priorities, is to defuel and close the Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility safely and quickly. And our second priority is to assess and remediate our aquifer. Defueling has been completed. Approximately 104 million gallons of fuel was removed. And we are focusing on the closure plan, which is the ultimate disposal of the underground storage tanks infrastructure. The pipelines will be removed and the tanks may stay in place. The Navy has started cleaning the tanks, and they are proposing that the tank cleanup will probably end in 2027. And what the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the department is doing is continually overseeing the work that the Navy has been doing. And we meet regularly with the community. Next slide, please. This is a slide that I got from the Navy Closure Task Force at one of their presentations, and it shows their environmental remediation process. So next year, they're targeting to do the site assessment all the way to 2031 for post-remedy monitoring as to how to clean up the aquifer. Next slide, please. This one is the Poseidon aircraft that was down at Kaneohe Bay. This is on the east side of Oahu. And the Poseidon is a reconnaissance and surveillance aircraft on approach to land on a runway at Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station. It landed in about 25 feet of water, and the plane safely defueled approximately 2,000 gallons without releasing any fuel into the environment. And the way this was done was really interesting because the U.S. Navy salvage experts, they recovered the plane by using inflatable salvage roller bags under the plane, and then they raised the aircraft and slowly moved the vessel to shore. The plane was reportedly structurally sound, and the unfortunate thing is parts of the plane rested in coral and did some damage. So our Hawaii State Department of Land and Natural Resources took the lead in doing damage resource assessments, and they determined that not much damage was done to the coral. Next slide, please. Okay, this one is 4 55-gallon drums. May not seem interesting, but Hawaii is not always the paradise that we like to think of. On the west side of Oahu, numerous disputes between neighbors ended up with 4 people dead. Picture on the left show the drums that were involved, and the person was attempting to shoot these drums and set the neighbor's house on fire. And pictured on the right is a large yellow front end loader that the person was using to ram the side of the property. Next slide, please. This one is a recreational vessel that was formerly 85-foot, 66-ton decommissioned U.S. Navy torpedo retriever. This was first aground on the south side of Maui in Kihei last year, 2023, where it contained about 1,500 gallons of diesel, and the owner was able to free it up. But earlier this year, um, it again ran aground, and there were 400 gallons of diesel, 150 gallons of hydraulic oil, batteries, and some AFFF fire extinguishers that could have been potentially released into the environment. The U.S. Coast Guard federalized the incident and removed the hazardous substances. So, as we know, the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund only pays for the removal of hazardous substances, and salvaging of the vessel is left for the owner. But in this case, it's left for the state to do. And the picture on the right show the metal that was recycled. So our State Department of Land and Natural Resources had to pay for the cost of this cleanup. And that's all I have. It's E Malama Ika Honua Imua, which means to care for our island earth, move forward. Thank you.